Okay, just a quick video to go along with this mishap report to make it a bit more clear. This is me sitting on the landing zone, 7,300 above sea level, wind from 260, so slightly left of the nose, about 30 knots, and it's blowing what in my head is down the valley, but isn't really quite down the valley. It's actually a little bit across the valley towards this this wall that you'll see towards the north wall. Relatively unexciting lift is going to take place from the LZ. Jotton's behind me and there's loads of space behind the tail, so I know that I've got space to slide back away from these trees to generate a bit of space. So intentionally just coming back and up into the hover. There's 84% torque available, so we know we've got OG hover power available, so we're just going to go straight up, altitude over airspeed, and then pitch forward. And in my head, what I'm going to do is maneuver up the valley a little bit, and then essentially do a sort of zero airspeed hovering reposition down the road to behind Jotton to see.
I'll do a quick reposition out to round to the right and behind you. Deliberately
staying in my head.
Do you want me to land or just hover right here?
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to have a go at it.
And what you'll see is that the ground speed readout 20 knots and and this readout, whatever this is in this flight regime, stay essentially the same through the whole of this manoeuvre. Now this is labelled as true airspeed in all the documentation, but below a certain true airspeed this essentially becomes more and more your ground speed until below some airspeed they're the same. So when the airspeed's low, this is driven by ground speed, and you can see the ground speed, the velocity vector here, which is always ground speed, displayed. And for the whole of this manoeuvre, we'll see that there's essentially no difference between these two numbers. So the airspeed never gets high enough to start, other than here, where it's probably 50 knots, right? 30 plus the 20. It never gets high enough to start driving this with airspeed data. And part of and that creates, maybe in my brain, a bit of confusion about whether I've actually got ETL or not.
Alright, copy. I'll give it a go.
I'm always interested in lots of people's opinions for these, because, you know...
And you'll see about here, this is where I start to lose concentration on the aircraft nose attitude. So I'm talking to Jotton about how you validate an IQT flight, whether he's going to go into this landing zone. He's out the right-hand side of the aircraft. And again, in my head, I've sort of mapped this wind as being just, it's going to take me down the valley. And you'll see really quickly from where the velocity vector sends us that it doesn't. It's actually blowing about here. So it's going to send us pretty hard towards these trees. Equally, you can see that, again, 36 knots, it's fairly apparent that we're at very low airspeed. So when I start pointing the nose down here, again in my head I've got nearly 40 knots of airspeed, but actually I haven't. I've got nothing. So so this is essentially a hot air balloon flight right now. I'm going to point the nose over there. That's going to do absolutely nothing at all, and the wind is going to take me straight towards these trees here.
It's just trying to get people to fly them through and see if they're valid training exercises.
And coupled with that, the nose has gone up. And I've reduced the collective setting, and I've kind of, I think, reduced the collective setting because I'm seeing the altitude number increase, and it's increasing obviously because it's a radar altimeter and I'm flying over a little side valley, but actually this is a 400 foot per minute rate of descent, which goes unrecognised for a minute because you'll see that the altitude number just stays essentially constant despite our fairly impressive rate of descent that we establish. And while that happens, we're busy getting blown into this hillside with the trees in a zero airspeed condition where we can't easily fly away. And that those two conditions combine to
just
create
went to
what follows.
Parallel with that big ass tree on the right. That's my
still not concentrating, realising that I'm out of trim and need to get down here, and then at this point realising that this has gone badly wrong. I'm now over torqued, so the engines are in the yellow. You'll see down here in a minute. They're at their contingency power. This is over the maximum torque that the engines will sustain the rotor RPM at. We can only go 84% torque, and it was kind of that triggered me to go, there's something really wrong here. I'm settling. I'm at 87% torque, and then you realise it all kind of clicks. I'm getting blown. I'm at zero airspeed. I've got no translational lift. I'm about to droop the rotor, and I need to get away from these trees. So at this point, this becomes an escape maneuver into the area that I know I've got clear, which is down and to the right into the valley. So right pedal, right cyclic, which moves me away from the obstacle, but also reduces my torque requirement. And I know I've got OG hover power available, so it doesn't need to be super aggressive. We don't need to get to ETL to fly away. We just really need to get the rotor back.
Rotor RPM low. Rotor RPM low.
So big escape to
Rotor RPM low.
get the nose down.
Rotor RPM low.
Collective goes back down. Rotor's back up to speed. And fly away OG. So yeah, that's it. We'll just play it through from where it gets interesting. Clearly this reposition was a stupid idea. If I'd had any brains at all, I'd have just got above ETL and flown back down the valley, or
I'll do a
kept
quick
nose into the
reposition
wind.
out to round to the right and behind you.
Copy, do you want me to land or just have a hover right here?
I think maybe lulled by
It's
the
up
fact
to
that
you
I'd
if you
only
wanna go
put in 51% torque and thought I had a bigger power margin.
Alright,
I
copy.
did.
I'll give it a go.
There we go.
I'm always interested in lots of people's opinions for these because, you know, it's just trying to get people to fly them through.
So
and
here
see if
it's
they're
starting to
valid
go wrong.
Training exercises.
Nose attitude control's lost.
I just went to parallel with that big
over-controlling
ass tree on the
maybe.
right. That's my
Settling, not recognised, partially recognised, now I've recognised it. Pull a lot of torque, droop the
Rotor
rotor,
RPM low. Rotor RPM low.
escape and recover the
Rotor
rotor,
RPM low.
get back into torque margins and fly away.